Hi there and welcome to Hyundai Power Products. My name is Adrian and today we're going to be looking at this Hyundai HYM530SPE Lawn Mower and specifically the drive system. So the scenario is that you pull the drive handle and the self-propelled function isn't working. Okay, so there's a few possible causes for this. Most of them are damage or adjustment. It could be a belt, it could be a drive cable, it could be several things. We're going to investigate what could be the possible cause of the problem. So we're going to need to tip the mower up onto its side, and the first thing to note is that I have completely ran the machine out of petrol and I've drained the oil. So I'm going to remove the grass bag and side chute now. I'm going to remove the battery and I'm going to remove the spark plug cap from the spark plug for safety. So I'll just remove the battery, and again for safety I'll just remove the spark plug cap, and now there's absolutely no chance of the mower starting while I'm turning the blades underneath. So the first thing to check for is any damage to the drive cable, and that's this cable here that goes down through the hole in the deck. So I've just inspected this cable all the way up and everything looks fine and there's not too much free play in it. So just a quick little test. In normal operation, if I don't pull the drive handle, the mower should be able to roll forwards and backwards easily, which this does. And just to check if the clutch is engaging, if I pull the drive handle and then try and pull it backwards, it should freewheel forwards and lock the wheels if you try and pull it backwards, which this one does. So that tells me that the clutch is engaging correctly. So as I know the clutch is working, the cable's fine, all part and parcel of the clutch. The most likely scenario is that the drive belt has snapped, come off, or is badly worn. So I'm going to tip the mower up onto its side. Now the best way to do this is always with the carburetor up. So I've got the mower up on its side now, and the drive belt runs around a pulley here behind the blade, behind this guard, up through here, both sides, and around another pulley here on this gearbox clutch unit. And you can see the pulley, and in this case I can see the belt is still on it. Obviously this is a working mower. There's a few possibilities. I'll bring you in to show you where I can see this belt. Very difficult for me to give you a shot of this, but you can see the belt pulley here, this circular object, and I can feel the belt is still there on the pulley. If your belt isn't on the pulley, it suggests the belt has come off and we can move forward and look at that. So one other point of interest here is the belt tensioner. I shall bring you in on that. So you can just make out this spring here, which goes back up into the mower and is fastened at the top. Now this spring pulls the gearbox in this direction, pulls it back, which tensions the belt. So it's very important that this spring is on. If you can see this spring hanging in the loose, you'll need to get a long nose pliers and hook it back in. But that is if the belt is still on the pulley. So we're going to go along the scenario that the belt is off the pulley and that this spring has come off. So I'm going to do a bit of stripping down of the mower to give us access to show us what we're going to do. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is to remove the blade. So I'm going to put a pair of gloves on for this. On a new mower, the cutting edges of the blade are not razor sharp, but on a mower that's been used, there's a good possibility that it'll have some quite sharp edges on the blade. So I do recommend that you wear gloves for doing this. Okay, so I need to hold the blade solidly in one hand. I've got a good strong power bar here with a socket, 17mm in this case, and anti-clockwise, just getting it moving. Should be able to get it somewhere. I'm hitting my bench here. On you go. There we go. So yeah, that bolt will be tight. Should get my shorter bar out now that I've loosened it off, really. Okay. So that's the bolt loose. Now we'll talk about this bolt. I'll undo the bolt completely. So we've got a bolt, a washer and a fibre washer, and then the blade. Okay, I'll just put the blade down. We've got this fibre washer, the bolt and a cup-shaped steel washer. The convex side goes towards the bolt head. The hollow side will go towards the blade. So we'll remember that when we come to put it back together. And again with the blade, you can see that we've got these drive lugs here. It won't go on upside down. It'll only go on the correct way because of the holes in the blade and the holes in the drive boss. It will go on the other way around this way, but that doesn't matter. Okay, so that's the blade orientation. So we've got two crosshead screws here. We'll just remove those first. Get them out of the way. Nope. Okay, so that's those done. We'll put them to one side. So the final fastenings are two bolts. There's one down in this hole and there's one here. So I've got a 10mm socket to undo the nuts on this side, but on the top of the deck, the other end of the bolts has an 8mm hexagon. So I'm using an 8mm spanner. So I can just lean over the top, hold the bolt, undo the nut. Again, that's the one. And try not to get in the way. Right, I'm holding the bolt there. Oh, not quite. Okay. That's the nut and bolt. Whoop, nut and bolt out of the bottom. And that will loosen off the guard. So everything's loose now. I can pull out the blade boss, and you've got to be careful because there's a washer down inside the blade boss, and there's also a drive key here which fits into a slot. So we need to make sure we don't lose any of those parts, and then the cover can simply be removed. Now obviously this mower is perfectly fine, but there would be a good possibility that perhaps the belt will be broken or badly worn, and that the belt won't be on the pulley. It could be back here, or it could be broken, or it could be completely off. So I'll demonstrate that. Let me just pull it off the back. I'm just going to take the tension spring off the gearbox. There we go. Right, so there would be a possibility when you open this up that the belt could be just hanging inside the guard, something like this. So I'll just take the belt away and we'll look at how to fasten a new belt or to replace the belt. So if I bring you back to the gearbox here, I'll just bring you a bit closer. You can see that the spring is no longer tensioning the gearbox, it's loose. So the gearbox hasn't got any tension on it, which would tension the belt, and that the spring is not in the hole. So the first thing I'm going to do, this is the way I prefer to do it, is to put the spring back in the hole first. So I'll just show you how I did that. If I rotate the gearbox right back, you can see the spring comes out. If the belt breaks, that can quite often happen. The spring comes out and you can't get to it. So trying to give you a good view, not get in your way. If I rotate the gearbox back, I can hook the spring into the hole, and that's the spring back in again. So that's the starting point before we put the belt back on. So if you did have a new belt, or in my case I've got the existing belt, first thing I'm going to do is to hook the belt in through the back here and over the pulley on the gearbox. Then I can rotate the gearbox against the spring tension, as you saw, and just ease it back onto the pulley. I can rotate it And then now I'll just wind it around the main shaft pulley and it's back on again. So as you can see, it's around the rear pulley. We saw it's around the shaft pulley on the engine, and the tensioner spring is in the correct position on the gearbox. And that's providing the tension, as you can see, on the belt. So we're all back together correctly. So with that all done, I can place the guard back in its rough position. I'll take my first bolt back in through the top of the deck. And I'll just put that nut on loosely. Just finger tight to start with. Same with the bottom one. I'm probably going to have to use the socket for this. Okay. That's that one on. So I just push it now into its location. I'll get these two screws started. That's that one. That's that one. So I've got all my fasteners in position. Now that they're in position, I can go ahead and tighten them up. Again, holding the back of this bolt. That's one. Got the spanner on the 8mm head on the back. Two. And then do up the two screws. Okay, so that's the guard back on. So I've got the little drive key. It'll only go in one way. I'll put that back in the slot there, in the key way. So again, my drive boss, I've got the washer, the spacer, down in the bottom. And inside the drive boss is a key slot, another key way. So I'll just line that up with the key, make sure that it's all in position, and push it in. Okay, so just put that horizontal, doesn't matter, but that's the way I like to do it. So back on with the blade now. As you can see, you've got circles with flats on. It'll only go on one way. Back on with the bolt. So that's washer, then the hollow side of the metal washer towards the blade. And I'll just do up the blade bolt finger tight. Again, I'm wearing my gloves for this. Okay. And finally, I can retighten the blade clockwise this time. The washer will compress because it is a domed washer. Again, I've got the big bar. Now, if you've got a torque wrench, the torque setting for this bolt is 45 to 55 Newton meters. Okay. Ooh. A little bit more. I haven't got a torque wrench here at present. That's it. So yeah, 45 to 55 Newton meters. Okay, so that's the blade all back on and torqued down. Guard all back in, all screwed down. The belt is on around both pulleys, and the spring, the tension spring, the most important thing, is back on the gearbox. Well, there we are, we're back on the wheels and ready to go. Should you need any parts for your lawnmower, whether that be belts, blades, cables, anything like that, they're all readily available from our parts department. Back on with a spark plug cap. I've oiled it. I've filled the engine up with oil. I've topped the fuel tank up with fresh unleaded petrol. I can replace the battery, which is fully charged, and we're ready to go. Well, I do hope you found this demonstration useful. For more information on this or any of our other products, visit www.untitled hyundaipowerproducts.co.uk. I've been Adrian, and thank you for watching.